All right. I'm Laura Niche with 350 Bay Area, and we're super excited to be here today to share the results from this project. And sorry about the notes, but then I don't have to look at the slides. So as you all know, next slide is good. As you know, exposure to air pollution, especially fine particulate matter, is really deadly, and the impacts are cumulative. And so are the impacts of high heat. Those are also cumulative impacts, but over a shorter period of time. Older buildings in Northern California were not built for our new climate or for the increased incidence of the high smoke days from the wildfires. So we were just pondering, like, how do we really accelerate getting cooling equipment and air purification into low-income homes for renters, especially for those people that are living in high ambient areas of air pollution. I have to say I'm going to cruise through this really fast because we have a short period of time, so bear with me. So we developed this program called A Fast Path to Clean Indoor Air. It was funded by an Energy Commission grant, and we provided 30 low-income households with portable heat pumps. Thank you, Sean, for giving us the right models and stuff like that. So, and we also gave them air purifiers, one big one for the living area, not super big, and then small ones for each bedroom. We also provided installation and maintenance support. And education, we tried to provide some education about why it was important to use the air purifier equipment in specific. So we wanted to find out, can we keep fine PM pollution at safe levels indoors? We're using this equipment, and especially during the high smoke events. Can this equipment reduce natural gas used for heating? Do the benefits justify the costs? Do energy costs go up and down? And how much installation and ongoing support is required, and how much general training support is required. Next slide. Our partners in this project were Redwood Energy, of course. We were really the main drivers of the project. Yay, team. We worked with El Concilio of San Mateo County, a community support group that does amazing work in the county. Many cheers for them and for their support. We worked with Cal Poly, Humboldt, and a little bit with Block Power just for advisory support as we were structuring the program. Next slide. So what we learned, was a whole lot, really. So these portable electric HVAC units, we're trying to find the right language for this, which we'll talk about in a minute. They really do deliver. They're fast and affordable, and we can just pop them in, and then they instantly provide relief, especially during high heat events. Many of these households suffer very high indoor temperatures, even when it's only in the mid-80s outside. So their apartments, we were told, several people reported that their apartments would reach over 100 degrees, and that would linger throughout the night so that they couldn't sleep. And the minute, like in one of the installations where I was there, the installer plugged in the equipment while they were installing it, and the temperature immediately dropped. So they just really crank out a lot of cold or hot air. So this is really an affordable public policy. The heat pumps retail for like $700 or $800. Bulk purchasing, of course, would reduce the cost. But skilled installation is really required, especially in these instances. The heat pumps need a dedicated outlet, and the households need to know that if they decide to move them around. We were very carefully explaining why they needed an outlet, but in one case they moved it, and then they blew out the buildings. They flipped the breaker on the building. So if you go in some of these older apartment buildings that are not up to code, you'll see that one outlet has a strip, and it's like rat's nest of things that getting plugged in. So there's just not enough plugs. They are not well up to code. The window interface is frustratingly bad. It's like they developed this fabulous piece of equipment, and then like the shipping department was like, well, we need to like figure something out to interface with the window, and it's a mess. It's hard to install. There's no insulation. There are big gaps. You have a permanently open window, so the window becomes unfunctional. There's just ways to solve this problem. I'm going to grab Sean and tell him my brilliant engineering ideas. but we can do better there. They're also 70 pounds. It became an ongoing joke that every single place that we installed these things was upstairs, and somebody without the appropriate equipment to get it up the stairs safely, it was just not going to work. It's not drop shippable right now. Also, supplying the equipment is really not enough. People need to understand how to most efficiently use the equipment and how they deal with, how they're going to get them repaired if they're broken. We had one household where they allowed their children to climb on it, so there was a little bit of an issue there, and that broke it. And then another one of the units just didn't work for some reason, so we had to address that and swap it out. There's also the condensate that is hard to deal with in some instances, so that also needs to be better managed from the installation on. They also need to be reminded that these are super efficient ways to heat your dwelling, that it might be cheaper than using whatever system that you've got involved there. So there's also a broad need for general education for everybody, regardless of your income status or where you are in the world, that breathing polluted air is very hard on your health. So getting people to run this equipment at night in their bedrooms is really important. And then also we noticed, and you'll see this later in the data, that we have very, very, very high spikes during cooking periods. And there was some education needed there. Even just the basics of, open your windows or run your vent over your stove, though. In these dwellings, these apartment dwellings, the vents just move the air around. They're not vented to the outside as a general rule. So we do think that there was some reluctance to use the air purifiers due to the assumption that would really drive up their electricity costs. So in all of the work that we do at 350 Bay Area, all roads always lead back to the fact that we need more social safety net programs. So next slide. So what's required to scale? Well, we need some better heat pumps. We need to improve the window interface and the condensate management and better insulation values of that interface plate, because it's like a flimsy piece of plastic, no gaps, whatever. Lighter, quieter, cheaper systems, that is getting addressed in general in the marketplace. We certainly need public funds to get this equipment into people's hands. We need the community networks. This is not going to work unless there's a community group helping support getting these installed and maintained. And then we also need filter replacements for the air purifiers. The systems we use, the filters were $40 to replace and $50 to replace. That is a lot of money for somebody who's on a shoestring. And then again, I think I've talked a lot about the education that's required. We are at, I hope, the tail end of the longest con in the history of mankind, where we have skipped lightly over the fact that burning fossil fuels is killing us, full stop. So we really have to get the word out about that. And then people need to know about heat pumps. Oh my God, what the hell is a heat pump? You guys, we need a better term for this piece of equipment, because they know what AC is. Both ways AC, I don't know. We gotta figure something out. And this is the group that can do it. I'm so excited about that. And then as temperatures rise, these portable units really serve an important interim role as we're decarbonizing. And when you go to Home Depot or something like that, there's no way of understanding that. So the incentive programs really need to address that at the point of sale. So, because people are buying AC, these window AC and portable units right now, because it's literally right now, because it's hot outside and they need some relief, whatever. So we need to get the word out, and that's what we're going to do. Next slide. This is a quick peek at some of the places that this is just a couple, and I will say, full stop, most of the places we went were lovely. These are for low income, this was a low income program. And a lot of the places I would live in a heartbeat, they were just fine, except for the super high temperatures, but up to code and everything like that. But you could tell, I try to do this without getting pissed off, but you could tell the places, the extractive landlords, and these were where the undocumented people, those were their choices and the cheapest ones. They were, you can't even see in here, but broken windows, really dirty, not maintained. Anyway, just shockingly bad. So again, social safety net. And we have a different presentation that tells some really heartwarming stories about the people that we worked with, but we don't have time for that today. Next slide. All right, so we are very excited to say, like thrilled beyond belief, that the CPUC's Cal MTA program picked this project up to push for the next stage. And they are actually going to be working with the manufacturers and doing more deep dive into energy costs and how to create these programs statewide. We did not anticipate that this would happen this quickly, so we are thrilled. 350 Bay Area is going to continue the work of trying to identify federal funds that would work at the city and county level, so we can do that organizing work throughout the Bay Area to find funds and channel them into local communities where we know that there's strong community-based support. So I am going to turn it over to Emily so you can dive into the data.
All right. Next slide, please. So this is the equipment that we used. I'm actually going to move to the other side because I feel like I'm going to block. There we go. Yeah, so we use both the Toshiba and the Winter heat pumps. They're both about a ton of cooling and heating capacity. And as far as power, they use about like 1,200 watts. And again, like Laura said, they're about 70 pounds, so that can be heavy to carry upstairs for some folks. And they cost about $500 to $600. The air filters we used were the Medify brand. They're a true HEPA filter, high quality. They use about 30 watts of power, and they cost, the smaller unit costs $90, and the larger unit is $150. We installed the smaller units in each of the bedrooms, and then the larger unit in the living room. And yeah, filter replacements are $30 or $40 for the big one. So that can add up. Next slide, please. And then we also collected data. We took surveys. We did a qualification survey, an initial and final survey. We also collected indoor air quality with a Qingping air quality monitor. It took 15-minute data for PM 2.5, temperature, CO2, VOCs, and humidity. It's like $130. And we also installed power meters in, like, pretty simple power meters, but that turned out not to be fruitful. Like, they were either behind furniture or people unplugged them, moved stuff around. So yeah, didn't get really conclusive results from those. Lessons learned. But we did look at some utility data and compared our indoor data to outdoor purple air, air quality, and yeah, outdoor temperature and humidity. And next slide, please. So this gives you a snapshot of what the PM 2.5 look like inside the homes. Very down at the bottom, there's like a black line. That's the outdoor. That's the outdoor PM 2.5. And most of the time, outdoor and indoor, they are aligning. They're pretty similar, but you see these large spikes throughout the day. And yeah, it's likely due to cooking. And I think most of the homes didn't have like an exhaust kitchen hood. They had like recirculating fans, or maybe weren't using them all the time. So you did really see elevated levels of PM 2.5 throughout the day, kind of near cooking times, lasting about an hour or two. All right, next slide. And this gives a picture of like out of the entire study period, like what were the levels of PM 2.5 within the homes versus outdoor. And I think, what was it, 60% of the time PM 2.5 levels were under 9 micrograms per meter cubed, which is the EPA standard. So most of the time it's under that level. Compared to outdoors, it was 74% of the time under that level. And yeah, just also noting that, you know, indoors saw much higher peaks, like I said before, like into the 60 to 200 range were more frequent peaks that we saw from cooking. All right, next slide. And what if there's a smoke event? So in September of 2023, there was a air quality advisory issued from wildfire smoke in the Bay Area. Next slide, please. And so this is what it looked like over the course of that week. The PM 2.5 The blue line is the participant median, the median of all the participants. And then the orange is the outdoor median of a few outdoor locations. And looking at this, indoor was able to stay about like 10 micrograms per meters cube lower than outdoors. And yeah, indicating that people may have been using their air filters at that time. And yeah, next slide. We also looked at indoor comfort. So our sensors took temperature and humidity data, and we compared indoor to outdoor again. So heat pumps, they also reduce humidity within the homes as well as temperature. So it was able to stay more comfortable. This is looking at the discomfort index. So that weights both temperature and humidity equally. So orange line is the participant median again, and it was able to stay within like the mild range of comfort, where outdoors you saw like peaks throughout the day of getting into more like moderate and severe hours of discomfort. So overall, that was great to see that the heat pumps were able to essentially shave off those like more severe hours of discomfort for residents. And we have pretty high confidence that people were using them for cooling. I think less confident people were using them for heating. Some folks said they didn't know they provided heating, and it was already pretty warm within the unit, so they definitely needed the cooling aspect of it. All right, next slide. This is to look at energy use impact. We collected PG&E data, but it was difficult to get a large sample size, so we got about 6 people to look at their energy data. So 5 out of 6 saw an increase in energy use. Looking at the months July through September, average monthly energy use. And what did I say? Yeah, it's about 90 kilowatt hours per month was the increase that we saw. All right, next slide.
Sorry, what's your bar to the far left? I can't
Yes,
read it.
if you go
I'm curious
back to
why
the,
it's so high.
that is kilowatt hours per month.
What's your average kilowatt hours at 320?
Yes.
So that per person though, right?
Yeah, per one
And what are the
person.
Others, that's like orders?
So QP is like the name, like the participant labeling number. So
Active.
yeah, these are just yeah. So that's the difference between 2023 and 2024 energy use. Yeah, sorry if that wasn't clear.
For 7 separate
Sorry.
addresses.
Yes, or so there's 6, and then there's the average at the end.
Okay.
Sorry, a lot of digest in one figure. Yeah, so that's, looking at 2023 to 2024, July through September, to try to assess the cooling energy increase. And
So then
yeah.
320 on the left there is
Mhm.
as an individual.
Yes.
So what's going on with that person?
An outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be, or they're using it a lot more than the other folks.
Added people to the household.
Yeah.
Do we know what the demographics were? Did they change from one year to the next?
We didn't look at that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I would look at normalizing the data if
Mhm.
you haven't already, because this year, particularly June, compared to last year's June, last year was sort of a really cold year,
Mhm.
and this year was, anybody who lives in the West Coast, it's been a crazy year. So I'm curious how many of those would go down if you normalize to
Yeah. They also didn't have cooling before. So would I still need to normalize? That's the question. We're workshopping this, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because I was also thinking about that, but important to mention, they did not have cooling before. So, all right. Next slide. Yes, Nehemiah.
This is the difference between 23 and 24, July
Yes.
to September.
Yes.
We're not at September yet in 2024. Is it estimated, or what are you doing?
Oh, maybe 2022 to 2023. Good catch, Nehemiah. Yeah. Definitely, yeah. Years worth of data.
So is this 2022 and this is 2023?
No, so this is the same time period. This is 2022 to 2023, but cost. So this is just the cost impact of that same figure. And yeah, so three of the data that we looked at clearly had a spike in August. So I'm assuming that's due to cooling. And they saw a bill impact of like $30 to $100 on average per month. And yeah, all right, next slide. And then, to try to verify this information with other studies that we've done, we also looked at portable heat pumps up here in Arcata during the winter. So it was very cold outside, so they're essentially working at like their max to keep the temperatures warm inside. And we saw an average energy use per day from about 15 kilowatt hours up to like 24 kilowatt hours per day. And that equates to about 120 to 190 per month. So that's not insignificant for low-income folks.
So
Yes.
did these households did they reduce their usage of other heat sources, or did they not have heating before? I mean,
This was a while ago, but I think we were pretty careful. So this is like other study. I'm not sure if they turned off their furnace all the way, but
so this was supplementary then to what they.
I think one of them did have a furnace, but we noticed that they like didn't have to turn it on because the portable heat pump was able to keep up. But yeah, I'd have to look back at that study. This is just to give a picture of energy use, where we closely monitored just the heat pump. Other study, we just saw their utility bills, so we weren't able to look specifically at the heat pump. And yeah, with that, I'll pass it off to Dio.
So we did 2 surveys, one at the beginning of the program, after they had used the heat pump for cooling abilities, and the final survey was done after they had gotten to use it during the winter. So we were able to get their opinions both after a heat wave and a very cold winter in the Bay Area. So this is the initial satisfaction survey. We asked a couple questions like how often do you have the heat pump on, how often do you turn on the air conditioners, and we got some pretty good responses in terms of like people were excited to use it. Like I said, people gave really good responses in terms of being excited to use this technology, and then we also wanted to know, do you feel like it's improving the quality of your air? And we got a very strong yes, so that was extremely exciting at the initial satisfaction survey to see, but also course overall satisfaction, also just really great response of very satisfied or at least satisfied. But so to summarize it all, the equipment is really good and keeps the homes cool, and people really like it enough to take it with them if they were to move to like a different unit. So if we can change the slide. Other questions that we asked during the initial survey was like, do you understand the information of the air quality monitor? That was difficult. We got responses of yes, but we have no. And then we saw as participation kept on going that it was something that needed to be talked about a lot. So once again, there is a need for more education. The controls for the heat pump, the controls for the air purifiers, there was a mixed reaction for people. And once again, like I said, we really wanted to know if you were to move to another home, would you take this with you? Very resounding yes. So that was really great to see. Next slide. So this is the end of the program survey. One of the first questions was, how often do you turn on the air purifiers? It was a little more mixed. As you can see, we had a lot of more different responses because we wanted to know exactly when people were using them. But overall, just also positive reaction from people. They're using their air purifiers, and most of them felt comfortable just keeping them on during the entire day. So next slide. Have you used your portable AC unit for heat? And if yes, how often do you use it? Also positive, we use it, and most people use it a couple times a week, if not once a day. And one of the reasons this is happening is, like Emily and Laurel said, these homes get heated really fast. So if anything, they had a much bigger need for air conditioning. Once it came to heat, they just needed to turn it on maybe once, and it would keep the home like heated for the majority of the day. So that's also why there was such a difference in how much they used the portable AC or the heat pump during the winter time. Next slide. The next question was, do you feel like the air purifiers are improving the quality of your home? People still responded with a yes, and they still responded that they're satisfied with the portable AC unit or the heat pump, as we say. Next slide. And then the most important question that we wanted to really know towards the end of the program, has this impacted your PG&E bill? The response was mainly yes, the energy bill has gone up. Some people responded that it has gone down. And some people were not that sure. They weren't keeping a close track of their bill. But it's also important to note that PG&E rates changed during the running of this program. So it was a little difficult to know if this was directly impacted by the use of the heat pumps and air purifiers, or if it was just a change with the PG&E rates. Next slide. But we have some quotes from the participants. Some people said, before, and it was an average of $55 a month, and now it went up a little bit to $75 to $85. Some people said no change, which was super exciting to see. Some people went from a bill of $130 a month to now a $200 to $250 a month bill. And some people even reduced. It went from $70 to $59.
Were you able to separate how much of that was rate change and how much was usage change?
Unfortunately, no. Yeah, unfortunately, no. Next slide. And are you now, because of those rate changes and after seeing the kilowatt per hour change of what people were doing before they started this program, we really wanted to know, are you afraid to use this equipment as it impacts your energy cost? Luckily, a lot of people said no, and that is a lot of the work that was done to tell people, this does not use that much energy, and it's an overall positive for your health, and just kind of really having a conversation with the community about how this uses very little power, but it was very necessary. But we're happy to see that at the end of the program, it got through to people. Next slide. And are you worried about the heat pump? We say portable AC, but we mean heat pump. Once again, I think Laura mentioned that there needs to be a better name for it, just so people really understand what you're talking about. So we did put portable AC pump here. And the response was, I'm not worried. It's also really cool to see. So next slide. We have some participant quotes just from the initial satisfaction survey. As you can see, people say, I'm grateful to be able to participate. The heat has been so manageable with the heat pump. The AC is so helpful, especially living on the second floor. Before, I couldn't sleep in the heat, as Laura mentioned before. I really like the help with the installation, and the heat pump and the air purifiers help so much. And I have asthma. We did have a couple people talk about their asthma in multiple instances. And I feel the difference, and my allergies have lessened due to the changes. So that's from the initial survey. Now, if we go to the next slide, we have the final survey. We also have some quotes. The equipment is really high quality. People were really excited to have it in their homes. I'm so grateful to get relief from the heat. My home is so much more comfortable. And I think the opportunity to have this is amazing. That was like a very constant thing that people used to mention when talking about it. So next slide. So final thoughts, it's awesome equipment. Definitely, we feel like maybe participants weren't using it right the majority of the time, or most of the time. We have no way to really know. There was a lot of education needed, but overall, this is something that's really going to benefit a lot of homes in the Bay Area. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to add, if I could.
Yeah.
So the cost of a heat pump, a ton is 12,000 matches burnt from tip to tip. That's a ton of heating. So 12,000 matches burning. If you buy a portable heat pump like these, $500 to $700. The heat pump that's right there, that's $5,000 to $7,000. It's literally 10 times as expensive to heat or cool a place with one of these permanently installed heat pumps. And that's super accurate data straight from tech. So as we're trying to get heat pumps and reversible air conditioners into people's homes, this is a center of innovation opportunity because the 1/10 cost, you see how people are feeling after they've got the air conditioner in, what a dramatic difference it can make in their health, being able to sleep at night. So that is one of the core things that we learned is that this is a great idea if we can get it into the windows well. You know, and there's also opportunities for efficiency. These heat pumps are maybe half as efficient as the best of the wall-mounted heat pumps. So maybe they use almost twice as much electricity in the worst case. Maybe half again as much energy, but they're definitely not as efficient as the best of the permanently installed ones. But you could do 9 times more work with the same amount of money if we can just get the windows to work. That'd be my contribution there.
Thank you.
Greg? Oh,
Could you just refresh my memory on what kind of data you had for baseline and afterwards for gas and electric?
basically just PG&E data, like their
At a
utility
billing
data.
level or hourly or daily?
I think I was mostly looking at monthly summaries, but I think we did get like 15-minute data in some, but I didn't look at a higher resolution than just like monthly summaries. Yeah,
Do you know,
Jasmine?
like, the average temperature in the winter because people didn't seem to use the heating that much?
Yeah, I think, so I looked at max temperatures. I did not look at average. I could have done that, but I think it was about, I think it was pretty warm. It was like getting up to like 80 degrees in the winter, where it was like 70-ish or 60-ish outside. So staying pretty warm inside.
So and there were quite a few people, 3 that I know of for sure, that used no heat at all in the winter because they did not trust their wall heaters, which was a general theme. And some of the ways that people dealt with it is they just never used heat, they never used any source of heat. Some people used the little room heaters. So that was, you know, we learned a lot about how people are trying to save every penny on their electric bills and what the real situation is with low-income people, the trade-offs they're making.
And to add on to that, some people just really said their homes are hot. They don't really need heating. Any kind of movement, cooking, people being in the house keeps their homes like heated enough.
I'm based in the East Coast, so we have different challenges.
Yeah. There's questions there and there.
Nick, over at the end.
First of all, thanks for sharing this. This was wonderful. I just wanted to get clarification on what your, I guess, baseline or default is for weatherization measures, because I wasn't sure. My biggest concern, I guess, with portable in this particular space is efficiency, especially in a state like California where you have extremely high electricity rates. So I guess I'm concerned that, so first of all, did you use leakage? Did you do like low
No.
door pre and post? No?
No, so these are, the reality on the ground is that we don't have, for these households, the weatherization issues are not under our control. So this is to say, for landlords who just aren't doing the maintenance work, what does this look like? And the reality is that it remains better than nothing. So, but it does drive up the costs.
Okay, so, all right, yeah, no, I would definitely agree that it's better than nothing, but I guess when you're looking at the data, that would be one of the things that I would just kind of, as a team, think about is, you know, how leaky were some of our outliers?
Very, unbelievably.
I think that's kind of the thing in terms of cost benefit, just a little bit of caulking, especially as y'all look at windows too. But,
Yeah, a little,
there's a lot of
putting
ways
your-
to do window retrofits.
yeah, I gotta tell you, you need your feet in the ground in some of these dwellings. So, yeah, I mean, we sort of looked at that, but we were trying to find like a little bit of the worst case. Like what does the worst case look like? You would really be appalled at some of the
Oh, I'm in a
conditions.
retrofit division, I'm aware of it.
Yeah, so, and there's nothing you can do.
Well, that made me think of another project that was kind of similar that AEA did, and they were trying to do more invasive like retrofits, like yeah. So, and it was like I don't know what percentage of landlords were just like, no, we don't want to do this project at all, right? So it's like, this is almost like a renter-friendly solution. Like, what does it look like? So, yeah, just wanted to add that.
And Dave, you had a question?
Study size, how many houses?
30, yeah.
And mostly Sacramento County?
No.
San Mateo,
San Mateo.
Redwood City, Redwood, yeah, Redwood City, right?
Last question here, Charles.
Oh, yeah. Do you plan on going back in 5 years to see if this equipment's still there, still working?
No.
It seems like there's a lot of flexible ducts going to the windows, taking up floor space.
Yeah.
I could-
Those are all real issues, but you know, I will say we lost a household early on because she said she was at the upper end of the low income thing, and she's like, it's too ugly, make it go away. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish I could have shared some survey information, but we asked if people had moved the heat pumps during the whole year. People definitely moved them around, but they still use them. So there's at least that.
Be a nice follow-up phone call.
Yeah.
Question? Yeah, I have one question. Yeah, so I think I remember from the presentation that the average cost that it went up was like $100. People's bills went up by like $100 a month.
No.
It was like 30 to 100.
So the back of the envelope estimates were about $30 a month
Okay.
based on the equipment, and that matched what we knew. We couldn't disaggregate the data. We just did not have the capacity, nor it was really hard to get the PG&E data out of people because they don't have the Spanish language capacity on the PG&E site. It would have been a one-on-one hand-holding exercise, and we did not have the ability to do that. So the next phase of this, they're digging in, and they'll have the capacity to really dig in on that. But again, social safety net. When people are saying, I can't keep livable conditions in my home because then I won't have the money to pay food, we need to address that separately as well.
Okay, we gotta keep on moving. So-
All right, thank you. Yay.